Without any further ado, everybody please welcome Mr. Darrell to today's session.
Hey everybody.
Hi.
My name is, so we're going to be doing this since we are in COVID and we're seeing a little bit more folks and each other. I'm going to be doing this with my 2-year-old daughter here. Her name is Liberty. My name is Darrell Kinsel. I am an artist and community organizer. I run an art gallery called Boom Concepts. If you have heard of Boom or been to Boom or saw something about Boom, give me like a hand raise icon or hand clap icon. Anybody? One person. Nobody. Oh, Miss Carla, 2 people. Okay, so we're going to talk about Boom Concepts today. I also am a community organizer for an organization called Lawrenceville United. So I work with young people and we'll be talking about that. So we're just going to start off. Has everyone logged in? I'm going to be talking about my art stuff first. Hopefully, or maybe some of you are interested in becoming an artist. When I was growing up on Robinson Street, Miss Carla, I never went to school to career.
You graduated the year I started.
Yep.
So I had your brother and your sister.
Yep. So I grew up on Robinson Street. Y'all still call that the Flack side? Is that still the Flack? Yes, no, maybe so. Is this an interactive conversation?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, cool. So I grew up on Robinson Street. What program? I did go to Breachmenders though.
Right.
Which was a great program. But one of the things that I distinctly remember was that I did not grow up with any artist. We had a few rappers, but not that many rappers. Nobody breakdancing, and I, really was brought up in hip hop culture. So no one was breakdancing, a few rappers, a couple DJs around the way who were active, and definitely no graffiti writers. So it's something I was always interested in. I am self-taught in my career as an artist. So I started out actually in the streets. So I am a graffiti artist. I do street art and public art. My career has evolved to spray painting on walls, yesterday there was an article in the city paper that came out about a public art program that I'm managing. It's always better to kind of get the experience in any way you can is something that I truly believe in. One of the ways, since I am not classically trained, I didn't necessarily go to college to become an artist, but what I have done is work with a lot of different organizations in Pittsburgh to help me develop my artistic career. One of the key pieces and one of the things that really got my start was I worked in a lot of after-school programs and early childhood centers. I was a preschool teacher as well, but I was always the person running gym activities for K through 8 and also running the art room activities. So, a lot of my artistic practice and selling work is really grounded in that. And some of my earliest critiques and earliest feedback partners were the young people that I worked with in the after school program. It gave me a lot of access to materials. It gave me studio time. It basically, also provided a studio, so a place outside of my home to develop work. And, that was really integral to a lot of, my early career path. Now, is anybody in here, artist, rapper, singer, dancer, beatbox, playwright, graphic design, DJ?
I dance. I do liturgical dancing in mine.
Oh, that's dope.
Thank you.
Who is that?
Rabrea. Yes.
Okay. Anybody else?
Can y'all shut the door, please? I have to leave. Thanks.
They are constantly surrounded by my singing, dancing, beatboxing, so they certainly have that exposure to it, at least.
Danielle is an artist. Who else?
Really wonderful photographer, too.
Yeah, photography. Michael and Nicoye dabble a little bit. You all can't speak up. Am I talking for you?
Hi, how are you?
Danielle, tell me a little bit about your photography work.
What did you say?
Tell me about your photography work, your photographs you take.
I take photos of nature, like flowers and stuff.
Yeah, she sent me a couple really beautiful photos a little while ago. So.
And anybody else? You said Nicoye and somebody else also little dibble dabble.
Yeah, true. I'm starting a book. I'm in that process right now.
Great. Well, you know, what I would suggest is, you know, if you have a creative outlet, you know, follow it. Whether it's a hobby, whether it's, you know, something that you're trying to generate revenue off of, you know, there is usually someone that is interested in either purchasing your idea or investing in your idea. And, you know, one of the greatest things about being an artist, or what I like to call myself a creative entrepreneur, is that, you know, you are able to generate value from things that you create. So you identify that value, you're in charge of that value system. And if, you know, the market or buyers don't agree with you, you don't have to necessarily change your mind. You know, you can stand tall and you can access the global market. And, you know, USPS delivers all over the country, and you can get stuff delivered all over the world. So, you know, if you do photographs or make wigs, or anybody got like a YouTube channel, right? These are all unique ways to generate revenue. And, you know, for me as an artist, I was extremely interested in not only making sure that I was able to generate revenue, but I wanted to use my work in order to say something. So, you know, as a hip hop, as someone who's really rooted in hip hop, you know, the graffiti world was always a place where, you know, artists expressed themselves, expressed ideas, went against the grain. You know, it's also been used as a voice of the people. So, you know, even during different movements, I have a favorite Teenie Harris photograph, who was a Black man who did photography in the Hill District. And his work, his collection is owned by the Carnegie Museum of Art, but he captured a spray painting on the wall that says, "Stop dope, the pusher is our enemy." And this is probably in the 60s or so. And, you know, it's like those messages were always really important to me. I've always been influenced by artists such as Fab Five Freddy, who was a graffiti artist, and he's a visual artist today. And then there was an artist, his name is Jean-Michel Basquiat, who used graffiti, aerosol cans, and was able to not only generate revenue, but also make comment on issues such as police brutality, representation of Black and brown people in the art world, and different things of that nature. So, you know, a lot of my work, I have a lot to lose these days, and just a lot to lose in general. In the city of Pittsburgh, you know, Miss Carla probably not gonna like me say this, and this is recorded, but it's all good because we got love. But it's just like, you know, if you go out there and do some graffiti, that's an amazing thing. But know there are consequences to that. And the city of Pittsburgh is especially tough on graffiti artists, and you can do federal time. So what my practice has evolved over the years is, has anyone ever seen yarn bombing? Where you might have like a piece of yarn on a tree or around a fire hydrant. You know, I thought about how I can make my stuff temporary, and I've started to create these signage posts and different street signs made out of like garbage and different refuse material. So yeah, those are some examples of yarn bombing. And then, you know, what I do is, you know, take cardboard, markers, different trash items that you would put in the recyclable space, and, you know, write different messages. I wrote a lot of Black Lives Matter messages on things of that nature, and putting them out in community. And, you know, that was not necessarily a way for me to generate revenue off of my work, but I was able to take recently all of my photos from my street art experience. So, you know, every time I travel somewhere, I usually put up street art. I might do a little bit of graffiti. I'll take photos myself. So I just use my iPhone, take the photos, and I was able to put those images into a book. So, you know, I was able to produce that book. I sell them for $25 a pop. And it's just always thinking about, you know, how do I generate a message and communicate a message while also figuring out how to generate some income for myself, while also making sure that my values and beliefs are never compromised in that process. You know, another thing that really got me engaged and inspired to try to be an artist as a job is that, you know, there was just a lack of representation in the local arts community. Oh, here's my Instagram for Yens. So you can see a little bit of my practice, some pictures of me and my wife, me presenting at different conferences across the country. And, you know, that representation piece was always extremely important. So, you know, I would come to different art shows and gallery crawls, and, you know, there would just be not many Black people, not many Black artists being exhibited. And, you know, that was something that I always wanted to change and, you know, changed really the narrative and the story around that. So, you know, part of my drive was to, you know, not only help myself and to provide more representation in the field, but also help other artists. And that's kind of how Boom Concepts came to be. I run Boom Concepts with a business partner of mine. His name is Thomas Agnew, rather. I just said his Twitter name in this recorded session. But Thomas Agnew, he's an artist and designer as well. And, you know, also a Black man who felt similarly about representation and opportunity for artists across the field, specifically in this region. So what we decided to do through some conversations that happened on Twitter with funders. So, you know, if you're using social media, that can be part of your artistic practice. You know, being in communication with other folks or people who have more power than you or people who have more money than you. We had some conversation with funders in the Twitter space. We were able to take that conversation and move it from the digital space into the real world. We had, you know, some conversation with other power brokers or people of influence in the neighborhood. And, you know, we were able to negotiate below market rate to rent a storefront in Garfield. So Garfield is home to the Penn Avenue Arts and Business District. There's about 20 plus galleries and independent arts runs organizations and a lot of Black and brown small businesses as well. And, you know, we just are here to really contribute to the landscape. And we host hip hop shows, we host art shows, but we're really focused on getting artists to the money. So, you know, we center all of our work on Black artists and make sure we are always supporting women and femme artists, queer artists, and artists who just may not be represented and need a voice. So, you know, we're really about connecting those artists, not only with opportunities, but with money. So, you know, over the year, we probably contract between 30 and 60 artists across disciplines. So that's photographers, that's vocalists, that's dancers, that's rappers, and for different performances, public art opportunities. We commission work from artists. And we want to just really help people grow. You know, we always encourage artists to also reach out to their communities. So we're always placing artists in different after-school programs to share with students different ways to generate income, and just so that there are a few more examples of artistic work and Black artists in our neighborhoods. What I'd like to do now is show the first video that just gives a little, it's a little 7-minute clip about Boom, and then I'll open it up for some questions before I move to the next piece.
Mr. Darrell, what's the, which one is that? Is that the video editor?
Yeah, that's the Kazoo video editor. So this is a little mixtape about Boom Concepts to just show you what we do, who we are, and the people we work with and support.
Wonderful. Thank you. Give me one sec.
Yeah. You want that? So we hold different gatherings. That was an all women's gathering we had out the space. You'll see this interspersed with a lot of my street art during this presentation. So a lot of Black Lives Matter. I do some blackface. I did the first Black Lives Matter mural in Pittsburgh with the Andy Warhol Museum. We commissioned the public art project with them. We did like a banging New Year's party. So like throwing parties is part of our practice. You know, so if you like to party, kind of organizing and curating and producing different events, you'll just also see some examples of my work. Again, there's some more street art stuff that is temporary. So, you know, I don't get in trouble if it's graffiti. It's just like something you can take right down. We got everyone at the museum to do a dab, you know, and dance. You know, we take a lot of field trips and work with larger organizations such as Carnegie Museum of Art, Westmoreland Museum of Art, Kelly Strayhorn Theater, Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership. We also do youth outreach, like as I was mentioning. So that last photo was us up at Schumann Juvenile Detention Center. We go there every Thanksgiving and just do some one-to-one with the young people. And then, you know, this is just also reflections of our community. So everybody you see in these photos is, you know, an artist, a creative entrepreneur, a leader. You know, some of them are our elders. We really are prideful that Boom is an intergenerational space. You know, we try to go with each other to different places. So, you know, that was us with Lynn Hayes Freeland. Just like one of our team members did an appearance on the show. So we said we all go and wait in the green room and just really try to make sure we're going along together. You know, that's really been important, and being critical of our practice to each other so that ultimately we grow and generate more income, you know, not only for ourselves, but for our partners as artists. You know, if one artist isn't making money or making enough money, that affects the entire field. So, you know, we really encourage artists to be negotiating respectable wages, not undercutting wages, and, you know, just standing up for themselves. And we try to make sure that we serve as a space for mentorship where artists can learn how to do that. You know, here are some opportunities where we've done public art. So, you know, we ask people, what is the past, present, and future of your neighborhood? This specific project was in Garfield. We collected all of that anecdotal information, let people also kind of put their hand on the wall. And then myself and another artist did some final, another artist did some final creation to kind of make it a little professional. And again, you know, just some of our partners, some of our field trips, we work at different universities and do presentations. And, you know, it's just something that I never really dreamed of as an artist myself. And running an art space, we're 5 years old. So we're in our 6th year currently. We've, you know, kind of grown from a space to a real live institution. So we're really proud of that. And, you know, it started as me just wanting my own studio to work and show work in. And it really grew to an incubation of artists, a workspace for artists, and a place where, you know, Black culture is really safe in Pittsburgh. And, you know, that doesn't happen that often. That doesn't happen brashly or upfront. And, you know, that's something that we truly believe in and will always kind of stand firm in. It's just like being a safe space for Blackness, for people to explore their Blackness, and for people to express their Blackness. In all shapes and sizes, all languages, and whatever that may mean for you, as long as you're not being dangerous to yourself or to others.
Sorry, it took me off the call.
It's all good. Does anybody have any questions about Boom Concepts, running an art gallery? Is anybody interested in opening their own business? You know, I'd like to hear a little bit from the squad.
I like art, but I wouldn't say I want to open one on my own.
Okay.
I have a question. Since you can't like really go outside much.
Where's mommy?
Since you can't really go outside, is that like a artist block? What do you even call that?
Yeah, so when you are a professional artist, there's no such thing as an artist block because it's not always fun. Just like you gotta, like Miss Carla gotta get up and go to work. You know, it may not always be fun for her, but it's work that she loves. You know, like this brother on the line who moved from another city to do some work, right? It's not always fun. So it's like, I have to do the work. So I don't necessarily have an artist block. I was, you know, we had to shut down operations for COVID at Boom. We're not hosting any events. We're not hosting any rentals. So like our cash flow, like we can't sell art. So that's not fun. And there's a block on our cash flow and our opportunity to generate artist income. What we, you know, did as a response to that was, you know, just shut down the space. It's okay to be in hibernation for a little bit. I try to come to the space myself once or twice a week and do some work and do some studio work. So I've created a couple new paintings, but not a lot. And, you know, we've turned our exhibitions into residencies. So instead of an outward facing opportunity or event that focuses on audience members coming and loving your work and patting you on the back and buying art, what we've been able to do is apply for resources and redistribute some resources so that now we're paying artists to come to the space, safely social distancing with a really strict schedule between all of us to develop their project that they were going to present. Our schedule, I mean, we've canceled 3 art shows in a row, and we're probably gonna have to cancel art shows up until, I mean, the end of the calendar year, you know, but we're just thinking about how can artists still utilize the space to work on things, you know, what are the resources that we can share with them where we can give them a little paycheck or stipend to come work on their stuff. And then, you know, since people can't come to the space, what are some of the opportunities that we can provide? So, you know, just yesterday we announced that we'll be operating and managing a public art project in Bloomfield that's rotating. So it'll be a new artist every probably 45 to 60 days. And we're providing them with a little stipend that goes along with that. And then there's a graffiti wall that we worked on a couple years ago. And then we're considering how to have that as a rotating opportunity. So, you know, when you are faced with different challenges that are outside of your control, I think it's always great to be agile and flexible. And I think artists typically are best at that. You know, another thing for artists, and, you know, what's always been true for me is that you have to have skills that transfer, right? You can't just be in, you know, people say, stay in your lane, but you can't stay in your lane. You got to be able to swerve, right? You got to be able to swerve. So, you know, I'm very thankful that I'm also employed with a nonprofit that does youth and community outreach, because like that was always part, you know, I got my start as an artist doing community outreach. So I was also able to grow my experience in that way. So it's like, although my independent business is going through some structural changes right now, my health insurance, a consistent paycheck, you know, a network, you know, is really how I connected on this phone call and on this presentation, has allowed me to, you know, not be in danger. And, you know, there's no such thing as a creative block. You got to just keep doing the work. Now you might do a little bit less work, right? Or a little bit more work. So during this time, I haven't been doing as much artwork. You know, I've been doing a little bit more administrative stuff, both at my nonprofit job with Lawrenceville United and with the art gallery. But it's like, you know, I still use my creativity in all those ways. And that's something that's really important as well. It's like, even if you're not an artist, it's important to be creative so that you can solve problems effectively. You might be that person on the team, on the Zoom call, in the boardroom, on the group chat that sees or looks at a problem or an issue in a different way. Also, artists are typically good at bringing things from concept to project reality, where not everyone has that skill. So if you can see something in its infant stage where it's not, even in front of you to a final product, think about how a computer is generated. Think about, how a new toy or a new game is created. That's always in someone's mind first. So, as an artist, a creative thinker, a creative entrepreneur is what we really stress. Is like really important to use your skills and never kind of tamp that down because like you might have to go get a like traditional job. You can still be a creative thinker, and ultimately that'll put you ahead of the rest of the field, or at least I believe so, and I've seen that to be true. Sorry, the baby is like pouring out all of our nails and art hanging equipment, so I'm trying to let her play because I'm like I give her some boundaries, but I don't want her to swallow a nail or anything. So does anybody have any questions? I've been talking for a long time. I just wanted to, I hope I answered that question about artist block or creativity block, and wanted to see if anybody else had a question.
So have you considered, I'm sorry if I'm taking over your questions, but have you all considered doing virtual shows going forward since this may go into the end of the year? I know so many artists are, showing their art via Zoom or Microsoft Meets.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Great minds think alike. Great minds think alike, not clear.
We're not really interested in that. There's a lot of content out there and it's terrible.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot, and no one's really saying it.
Real talk.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot of really bad content out there. Also, one of our core programs was Unblurred Gallery Crawl, where in one night we probably saw 1,500 people. And so, that's definitely canceled for the rest of the year because that's basically having people in a stadium. It's over like a 4 to 6 block radius, so, and it's people going in and out of like 10 to 15, sometimes even 20 places. We are joining some online content sharing. We have a bunch of archival work, right? So that's like one thing you always have to do as an artist is capture your performances, video, photo, all of that good stuff. That's really important. And we're not interested. We're probably going to be going more internal and really supporting the artists. So more critique circles, more like scheduled mentorship and one-to-one peer-to-peer mentorship calls, more residency. So the only public facing thing, ideally, we may do like a little once a month podcast to talk to the artists about their process.
Right.
But the only public facing like end product is going to be these public art projects right now. And it's honestly for the amount of work that our gallery produced over a calendar year, it's been nice to kind of shift down.
Yes.
And reconsider, our mission is not to serve audience members. Like if we were a presenting organization, like a theater, I would probably have a very different answer for you. Our mission is to support artists. So we're trying to pump more money, more resources, and more opportunity in the artists. Now, what has increased and what people probably, what isn't shared enough about being an artist or being a leader in general is like my paperwork has tripled and doubled. So, I'm writing more, for you all, it would be writing more essays. I'm writing more budgets. So, if anyone is, as I'm telling you about this creativity and being an artist, one of the things that are not spoken about in regards to the field is the amount of paperwork and administrative responsibility that comes along with this. I think I've submitted 6 grants in probably 4 weeks.
Wow.
Ranging from, and nothing more than like $15,000. But yeah, from $2,000 to $15,000, I've written, our team has developed 6 grants. we wrote a proposal to run another residency project in-house where we're supporting artists and doing like group research around classical music and American classical music, which is jazz, some people say. I am, doing research if we are eligible for, some of these federal programs like the PPP, payroll protection, something, which, based on our unique business structure, we're not a nonprofit or a fully formed LLC. We have a fiscal agent. So, we were not eligible for that program. So, it's not back to the creativity block. I'm trying to be creative in the ways to keep our doors open and help my fellow artists who were our employees and who we had contracts with. I haven't had a lot of opportunity to like be creative in my own work. And we're also not pressed or interested in pushing out a lot of creativity. Like maybe this is a time to be more internally focused and like watch what people are doing, because we really can't get a chance to do that. And like, Miss Carla, yeah, some of the stuff online is just not good.
And one thing that I'd love to add too, if you don't mind me interrupting a little bit, for our CEOs, I know that, you see me, you see what I present, I try to present pretty real, like I'm a nerd, a history guy, love random facts, that kind of thing. And so I know that for those of you who are more creative or more business oriented, and I think it's really wonderful that Mr. Darrell is speaking to both the artistic pursuits and the entrepreneurial pursuits. But that question, and I think it was a really wonderful one about what are you doing about artistic block? We all have points where we hit what we feel like we hit a wall. We're like, there's nothing else I can produce right now. Yep. But that's where, and this is why I always say, discipline beats motivation 10 times out of 10.
Yep.
You might not want to do, we all have those days where we wake up and we're like, I just want to stay in bed all day, right? It's not, when you run out of motivation, when you run out of the energy to do it, the discipline of just saying, it doesn't matter if I want to do it, this is what I do. And I have a responsibility to either my community or my partners or myself to continue doing this work. That's why it's so important to learn to persevere. Because if if Mr. Darrell took a break every time he wanted to take a break, he probably wouldn't have made it nearly, he definitely wouldn't have made it nearly as far as he has. And he can thank himself for that, and that's a really wonderful feeling. So I just wanted to make sure, the creativity and that kind of thing. You all thought that, a lot of you thought that those lateral thinking puzzles that we do for SREP and for orientation, where it's, like man overboard and you all think it's silly, that kind of creativity will always have a place. So I just wanted to remind you that, we said this stuff too.
No, I appreciate you like bringing it back to the work that you've done or accomplished or some of the things that you've drilled on. Here's a recent, I was lacking on my Instagram post. Like my social media presence had dropped significantly while this was happening, right? Where, you may think, okay, everybody's at home, everybody's online, you want to like really pump out content, but I had took a break. Like my household took a break. I had took a break personally. Also, I was like, let me give like a little bit of space, because nothing I create is essential, right? Having some of my like values in on that. The past 2 weeks, I had to have the discipline, and I know it's silly, but it's real. It's like I had to have the discipline to get back on my social media schedule and be producing content and raising awareness, because we're also like ramping back up a little bit at Boom. But then it's like my personal art sale was down because the space ain't been open. As soon as I start posting on Instagram, I got like 4 inquiries for sales, and I wrapped something up today and somebody came and did no contact. Right? Like no contact. I just put it in your trunk, put the art piece in your trunk. I'm a Venmo you the money. You know what I mean? And it's just like, man, that's a nice little like extra 500 that came from, you know, I was slacking on Instagram. I didn't have the discipline. I was probably just scrolling a lot. I was like on the platform, but I didn't have necessarily have the discipline to be producing my own work and promoting myself in that way. And as soon as I got back on my regiment, sales. So
Exactly.
like, that's true. You know, it's like, and discipline will take you way further than talent. You got to get up and do the thing. I'm telling y'all, being an artist, there's no romance. It's not fun. It's not romantic. Like, and when you see great works of art, it hurts. You know, I think about some of the greatest work of our time right now is probably Hamilton, right? That it was a painstaking process for that gentleman to create and like translate and get the cast and all these things. And you see the payoff. He's talented, but that is definitely a work of determination and discipline. And you know, in the 5 years that Boom has been open, we have seen about 10 other spots open and closed. Open, close, open, close. The new spot, everybody going to the new spot. People like the new spot. People not going to this spot as much, blah, 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 blah. We just trying to be here. So in 5 years, there's been a lot of other artist-run projects that have opened and closed. Black, white, other, whatever. We are still here after 5 years. And, you know, that is most restaurants, candy stores, gyms, cell phone stores, hair salons, nail shops, or art galleries don't live to see their 5th anniversary.
I was actually I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just reading an article on that. There are, within 1 year, 30% of restaurants close. Within 2 years, 60% closes. Within 5 years, 95% of restaurants close. So y'all are killing it. And I also want to jump in and say, so Mr. Darrell was just talking about how, you know, he, according to his own metric for how hard he thinks he wants to be working, he said that he was slacking on his Instagram, and then he decided, all right, you know, I'm going to jump back in it, and it turned around for him. And that's another lesson for you all. I mean, you know, I talk pretty openly, not because I'm proud of it, but because it's important, that about my personal shortcomings and failures, especially with school and that kind of thing. But another example of living proof of everybody has bad days, bad weeks, bad months. The shame is not in the falling down, but in the staying down. Yep. So if you realize you're down and you haven't been reaching what you know is your full potential, or doing what it takes to make you happy and make you feel successful, all you got to do is decide, you know what, I haven't done it in a week. I'm just going to do it today, or I'm just going to do it tomorrow. And it's never too late to turn it around, ever, ever.
And you have to just create the space for it. You know, as an artist, it's a studio. You know, as an entrepreneur, or, you know, someone who's in a typical field, it's your office. So even right now, you know, really honoring the work that needs to be done for my job at Lawrenceville United, creating the space, creating the time, and just drilling down into that work with intention has been really important, because, you know, a lot of times it was centered on like human interaction and building relationships, and that's very different right now. So, you know, I've had to be flexible and agile on how the work gets done, but also making sure that the work gets done. There has to be a discipline there. And I'm happy and lucky to be busy and blessed and booked. You know, some of my colleagues are not in the same position, whether it's, you know, in this nonprofit, community outreach, youth education space, or within the art space. So, you know, and that is not like because I'm special or because I'm this or I'm that or I'm more dedicated or more disciplined. It's like you have to be dedicated and disciplined in the things that you do. And, you know, if your situation changes, that's a change. But ideally, you know, you have multiple income streams. So if, you know, one thing goes down, something else is there for you. You know, that's something that also I want to really stress to this group is like the importance of having, you know, multiple streams of income, diverse ways of generating income, and making sure you know your own skill set so that you can appropriately promote that to potential employers or people who value your intellectual property and creativity, right? Like you want to make sure you know what's going on. So I know I liked working with kids. I like being around the way. I liked art stuff. I like being outside. I liked talking stuff and making sure my voice is heard, you know, and like, how do I translate those skills to whether it's organizing and advocating for school rights, whether it's advocating and writing grants for artists and Black artists in particular, whether it's talking stuff on Twitter, because I didn't, you know, got some jobs from that, whether it's writing the N-word on a piece of paper and turning that into a college, like hosting a lecture at a college, like whatever it is, knowing your skill set, knowing your value, and making sure you can adequately communicate that. And you don't have to communicate it in a way that's foreign to you or feels inauthentic. You know, it's important that it's passionate and it's honest. And if someone goes back to check the facts are there. Because no one can argue with results. Like no one can argue with results. So sometimes, you know, my way of being or delivery or trying isn't, you know, necessarily accepted broadly, specifically as, you know, I'm a little bit agitational, a little bit left-leaning, and we in Western Pennsylvania are a little bit conservative across the board, you know, whether across race, across class, across gender. This tends to be a little conservative region, but, you know, making sure that like my facts check out, my works check out, and like people have to accept that. You know, people always accept good work. And also this is a global economy. If they don't accept it in your own backyard, you can surely, I'm trying my hardest not to cuss, Miss Carla. I'm doing I almost slipped just now. But people will surely, that's
Yes.
like, oh diddly do, will surely,
I do declare.
I do declare they will hire you. They will identify your gifts, and you will translate. And some of my most positive experiences, and where I've also felt most appreciated and also been paid the most, have been outside of this region. So, you know, never be afraid to take your skill set somewhere else, because you'd be surprised who identifies you as an expert.
Right.
Yeah, and one of my favorite quotes, you all know that I'm always good for a quote whenever something comes up. And there's a woman who is, she's done a whole bunch of stuff, but she does a lot of advocacy, especially for mental health and individual rights, especially women's rights and women's health rights. But she has a line that says, you could be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world, and there will always be somebody who just doesn't like peaches.
Yep.
But that also doesn't mean that just because they don't like what you have, just like Mr. Darrell said, there are going to be 1,000 other people there who do. So don't be afraid to, like I said, like we both said, brush yourself off and try something new.
Yeah, don't be afraid. And I want to just, we coming up on time, right? Is it an hour?
I mean, they're fine.
Okay. I was gonna say, yo, because I seen it was like 5 o'clock. You cannot play with. You already opened it. You can play with it. You can put it back though. Here you go, Baba. You gonna put it back? Here. Yo, this is a dope program, y'all. Like for people that's in this program, you know, my brother and sister went through this program, and so it's also a long-standing program. And over those, I mean, my sister is 30. 31.
No, she just had a birthday. I'm like, how did she pass me up?
That's right.
Yeah.
So, you know, as I have also said, like, there's been businesses that have gone and come and all of that. There have been tons of programs.
Tons, yeah.
I've worked at a bunch of them. Miss Carla didn't see me.
I know. I was sitting here thinking, I remember when I was taking Catrice to Center for Creative Play out there in Edgewood.
Yep.
And I remember I was like, oh, wow, you're here, you know, and it was short-lived. It was a great program, but it did not last very long. And like you said, that 5 years, what I want to say about you, and I remember when we started our Future Makers, you started Future Maker.
Yep.
And I remember the art in the business, and we always try to tell our kids that it's like, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't understand business,
Yep.
your talent's not going to, reach the level that you need it to. And I think you're a perfect example of, putting those two together and making sure people or artists are educated in that field and in that space so that they can, elevate themselves, have those multiple streams of income. And I see you, as one of the Robinson kids, it's like I wasn't Breach Menders, I was Breach Menders Ministries, New Beginnings Learning Center, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't have you, but you were still part of that community. And I remember, seeing you when you were going to school and then you were working with, different youth programs. I think that you are, the epitome of what we want our young people to do. And, put those two talents together. It's like, why sit back and wait on somebody to, enjoy or find your art? You found a platform so that, they're looking for you. You're not, you don't have to look for them.
Yeah.
Yep. I appreciate that. That means a lot, Miss Carla. And, it's just like, it's about giving yourself the authority.
Yeah.
Self-authorization is a
Absolutely.
really key piece in all of this, y'all. Giving yourself the authority. And most jobs, whatever the job is, and if you want to be a CEO or whatever, you're gonna be way far away from the mission, like the fluffy, lovely mission and values that you develop. You're gonna be doing payroll,
Everything,
doing taxes, human resources.
Yeah.
All the job. It looks fun, whatever it is. It looks fun. It rarely is fun. You gotta really love it.
Right.
And when you do fall down from a day at work, you're gonna get back up because you love the work, and it's not about the place you work at, it's about the entirety of your work. Because Boom might not be here next year. We probably will be here based on our funding and our mission and vision and values and all of that stuff. We plan on being here. We may not be here. My practice as an artist, my values and supporting artists, and even working with the people who are at Boom, that's going to continue. Boom is a vehicle that we've used over the past 5 years. And when that vehicle is done, it's done. But that doesn't change, my discipline, my dedication, my love of the craft, and me wanting to get up and make a mess and wreak havoc every day. Yeah. You're not allowed to play with screw eyes. You want to hang a painting, I guess.
One thing I want to make sure that I say for our CEOs here is that I know we talk a lot about differences between slips and failures and shortcomings and really messing up and that kind of thing. But another quote to throw at you, Albert Einstein, he said, anybody who's never made a mistake has never tried anything new. First time you try to swing a baseball bat, you're probably not going to hit a home run, right? First time you shoot a basketball, you're probably not going to hit a three. So I want you to be as kind to yourself in all situations as you are when you're trying something that on its face takes a lot of practice, right? You first start being an artist, right? You're going to need some practice. I remember when I first started, my very, very short-lived career as a graffiti artist, I got really frustrated because it just never looked the way I wanted it to. And you might feel the same way. I know you feel the same way about your math homework or especially with your writing. A lot of you are like, oh, I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to put it on paper. Everything requires a flex. Everything requires flexing that muscle until it gets stronger and trying again and trying it again a little differently and trying it again a little differently again. And so I want you all to realize that for every beautiful art piece or painting or mural that you see, there were 1,000 renditions in a sketchbook that the artist was not happy with. For every book you read or music piece, song that you listen to, there were 1,000 versions of that the artist was not happy with. So be as kind to yourself as you would be to other people trying something for the first time. And remember that if you don't get it right the first time, you're not out of the ordinary. That's how everyone starts. So be kind to yourself, push yourselves, but be nice to yourselves when you're starting out with something new.
Any questions? Because this was a lot of amazing information that you're not going to get this in school. Truly, you're not.
Nicoye asked a question.
Nicoye, how would you go about finding recruits? Can you elaborate?
For the art gallery? Recruits for what?
I can't unmute you, not Nicoye.
Like recruits for your art gallery, people who are like interested in what you do.
Okay.
So we usually put out a call. We, use traditional newspapers, or there are different art listings where people also look for opportunities and residencies. We put out a call. We also, you have to be, in any field, you have to know who's working around you, who's doing what, who's being innovative, who's kind of slacking, right? So, just like how School to Career looks for different staff, we kind of do the same process. We look for staff. That's what kind of the exhibiting artists would be. So, we just developed a new residency that'll be exploring classical music. We're thinking about artists who have worked with us before on the project. You poured it all out on the floor. Who have worked with us before on a project, who may be interested in growing their way, and then we interview them. We have an application that you have to fill out. So, there's an interview process with anything. So we don't accept anybody. You can't just show up to the space with a painting in your hand and say, hey, I'm an artist. We look at your resume. Artist has a resume called a CV. Yep. So, we look at your CV. We call contacts. If, you've exhibited work with someone we're familiar with, we look into that information and, just checking in on people. Yeah, but any field you go into, you have to have an awareness. So like we go to conferences, we present at conferences, we make sure we're connected with other artists, or other artists run space in other cities. So, just all about, that's like another part that has nothing to do with making art, but it's important to a career as an artist, just like your field awareness and how about other people. That's a good question.
Yeah, it was. We have another comment.
It's really mysterious.
Yeah. All right, Danielle said, I feel this was a deep conversation. I'm glad that he didn't sugarcoat this, because Black people need to start coming together and being successful. Excellent statement.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're really rooted in. Like, yeah. Black excellence, women, men, queer folks, whatever, Black excellence, and we want you to be here. But that also means on the road to excellence, there is criticality. So we want everybody to be better. So, we go at it with each other. We talk about each other's work. We challenge each other. I didn't have people mad at me at performances and stuff, but it's like, I've been mad at people at performances and stuff. But it's all just like a part of loving on each other in that way and holding each other responsible. So, I appreciate that it translated in that way. But that's, that's what Boom Concepts is about. And that's like what I value.
We had another question from Jamar. How long would it take for young talent to be recognized, especially if they're very good?
It depends on their relationships to the field. Again, you have to network. So it's about what artist opportunities are you pursuing? Are you going for residencies? If you see young talent, you always want to support that person. So, we try to be really keen. And I mean, that is the responsibility of a curator and a producer, which I also wear that hat, is like recognizing talent and helping grow that. So, I mean, it really all depends on the journey of the artist. But it's important if you are recognized, like if someone is recognized for their talent, what is the infrastructure and supports that they're receiving in order to make a career, right? Like, it's not about being famous necessarily. Like, I just want to be respected like the firefighter. I don't want to be this like, oh, that neighbor is special because they're an artist. Like, no, I go to work every day just like anybody else, so it's about really demystifying that piece And I mean, some people blow up. Some people have a respected career. Like, you know, I'm not famous. I'm happy where we at right now, and I'm trying to get more, you know? So it's really about that time.
If anybody else has a question, we have a couple minutes right now. Please feel free to put it in the chat if you don't want to call it out on your own. And
So I'm expecting at least one question from everybody. That would be just so much nicer than staring with one eye in the camera or ceiling.
I mean, I put it to y'all like this, you know, through this work, and like I wrote an essay, wrote a budget, and I got mailed a $10,000 check. Do y'all like that?
Yeah. They complain about us writing. We tell them to write just their thoughts, and they get mad at us. So look, $10,000 can come in the mail for writing. It makes a big difference.
And that's not a loan.
No, that's a grant. Grant is free.
And artists are uniquely positioned where they're more likely to send the artist a check, you know, than like if Miss Carla went for a grant, they gonna send it to School to Career.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Opportunity to say, Darrell Kinsel wants the grant, and they mail it to my house, or Boom Concepts wants the grant, and if we get it, they mail it to our fiscal agent. Yeah. You know, it's like that flexible. I see some more eyeballs, Miss Carla. I question when I'm working with young people. I'm like, y'all like a $10,000 check mailed to you?
That's it. That is it. Exactly.
You know, my wife, she's gotten bigger gifts than, you know, bigger awards than I have, like $15,000 in the mail. Right. And what you have to do on the back end is write another essay. Yep. To say what you did, yep. And then tell them how you spent the money. Just make sure you keep all your receipts. But say you trying to you want to do a photography show, or y'all wanted to say, we want to document School to Career, or I want to make a video about the program, about my journey, about my experience at UPMC. Like, it's about storytelling, and there are so many streams of income, revenue, and gifts out here for your intellectual property and creative ideas. Like, everyone is an artist. Not everyone's a good artist, but everyone's an artist, and everyone can flex, have determination and discipline in order to get to that space. Excuse me.
And there's usually an annual, you know, competition to, you know, I think they just had one in February where they wanted students, I asked a couple of our young men to document, you know, something for the census. And I want to say they were paying like $1,000 just for this, you know, 2-3 minute video. But, you know, it's hard when, like you said, you don't have that motivation or that focus to do it, but the money is definitely there. You know, there's always something coming across my desk. It's like, oh, if they videotape, you know, whatever's going on. And I'm sure somebody's going to be saying, okay, you know, what's the impact of Corona in the Black community for teens? There's going to be a grant for that. But yeah, that money is definitely available. And writing is so important that, you know, for any job. I mean, School to Career, that's how Future Makers came about. That's how School to Career came about, writing information. And we're constantly writing what their engagement looks like. Yep. You know, we're at the point where we're about to ask for some more money, and it's like, okay, so what are you doing with your kids during the pandemic?
Yep.
Yeah, so and you know, we're talking $150,000-$300,000 to make that happen. It's huge. So writing and reporting, that is my job, and if you can do that, hey, I've been around 18 years.
Yep.
Come on now. I can write.
Doing it well too. So
I'm trying.
Yeah. I'm gonna have that song stuck in my head all weekend now. Thank you.
But yeah, y'all, it's like that writing piece, it can get the bag delivered to your mailbox. You know?
The grind. There's a grind to everything. There's never going to be anything without a grind. It's just if you happen to put yourself in the right situation and decide that you're not going to give up, that grind can be something that you never want to stop doing because you love, like Mr. Darrell was saying, you love the work. But there's always going to be a grind. You know, you're a professional ball player, you still got to run sprints. You know, you want to be a professional artist, you still got to do drafts, you know, or do something and then be like, I don't like this. And then you put white over the canvas and you start again, you know, so there's always going to be a grind. So just go in with that expectation and you won't be disappointed.
And one more thing about writing, the field needs more critics and curators. Like everybody, you know, like everybody wants to be a basketball player. Like everybody wants to be an artist, but the field has a lot of different jobs, right? Like I sit here before you today, that's like 4 jobs. I run the space, right? I do the exhibitions, that's a curator. I write the grants, that's a fundraiser. You know, I make the art, and it's just like, yo, that can all, those are all, that's all one seat at another place. You know, so if I went to work for a museum or National Arts Endowment or, you know, something of that nature, that's all, they're all many different jobs. And I would never, you know, you could be the person who documents. Hanging art is a job, and it's a well-paying job if you do it right. You know, I mean, we pay our dude, I think we pay him 15 or 20 an hour, and he's grown with us, you know what I mean? Like hanging art is a job. So, you know, the field, if you can't draw necessarily, that's cool. I can't draw either. So, you know, that's all up to the eye. But like, there are so many jobs in the field. If you're into theater, running lights, running sound, designing posters and flyers, like the entire field, you need to like proofreaders. Or, you know, if you write, someone said they're working on a book, whoever's going to proofread and copy edit your book, that's a job. So, you know, when I say an artist, I do mean the field in general, not necessarily, you know, someone with like a weird mustache and a hat, and they're like all by themselves somewhere. You know, it's just
no laughing, Miss Carla.
So, you know,
the mustache is new.
It's not just about, you know, making the artwork and being an artist. You know, as this program is called School to Career, I really want to stress to you that there are many careers within the arts field. And, you know, if y'all interested, here's the pitch, right? If y'all interested, holla at me. You know what I'm saying? Like if y'all interested in learning more or learning how to get that $10,000 check mailed to your crib, I am the person to talk to. Or the people at Boom Concepts are deaf. If you ain't like how this laid, or you wasn't interested in this delivery style, there's a lot of different people at Boom Concepts who have a different presentation and similar results, if not better results. One of them.
Is this $10,000 thing like a contest?
So there are different things. There are things called grants where they ask you what your idea is, how does it make impact, what are your qualifications, and then your proposal or your essay and how much you say it's going to cost gets reviewed by a team of people, and then they make a decision on, during that usually 6 to 8 month time period, who they're going to give money to. So it's like, you know, sometimes it's $2,000, sometimes it's $10,000, sometimes it's $150,000. It's really determinant on the budget that you create, and, you know, how well it's written, and then your track record. And then you can also find like a private company, let's say University of Pittsburgh, something, School of Art, School of this, School of that, School of Medicine. Hey, would you like to donate? You know, you could do multiple, and then you can even sell something off that project. So there's multiple ways to generate revenue to bring a project from concept to finality. And also there's always money to pay yourself, so you don't have to spend all the money on the concept. We got game. We hustling, y'all. That's what I'm saying. You know, I appreciate the person who said it was like, this wasn't sugar-coated, because I bring a very authentic, and I ain't even cussed this time. I bring a very authentic and real and relatable. I'm from around the way. I'm from the Hill. Like Miss Carla just said, I grew up on Robinson Street. My family grew up on Robinson Street for a million years. Burroughs, which is no longer there, which is now Oak Hill, all of that stuff. So it's like, I try to talk in a way that is relatable for anybody, especially for people who may have a similar background and upbringing as me. I don't want to come in here and be speaking all lofty or speaking in artistic terms that you may not understand. I want to respect your intelligence, right? And not dumb things down, but make sure that you like, oh, he talking about money. He talking about Black excellence. He talking about being successful, and not have it be super coded behind a bunch of words that don't necessarily land for y'all. How we get the questions, Danielle? What's your email? Oh, okay, I got you. Danielle, see, I like that. That's some follow-up. That'll get you far.
Yeah, absolutely.
dskinsel@gmail.com. I am dskinsel on Instagram. I prefer that you email me. I'll also put boomconcepts1@gmail. That's our Boom email. So if you have an inquiry, you can email both me and Boom. And then that also puts it on our team radar.
And if anybody, you know, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, whenever, decides they want to get in touch with Mr. Darrell or any of the folks at Boom Concepts, let myself or Miss Carla know. And, you know, I saved the chat here, so I have all this information. And we'll, you know, I don't doubt that that we and Mr. Darrell are going to stay in touch. So if anybody needs anything, just give us a shout and we'll connect you, okay?
Yeah, you know, you told them about the buddy system?
I did
No.
not. You want to, yeah, you want to tell them about the buddy system?
Buddy system commercial. So, yo, if anybody, your household, yourself, your neighbor, your family, your friend, if you need support during the COVID-19, the nonprofit I work for called Lawrenceville United has a couple different resources that they're offering. First resource, every Friday in Lawrenceville, we're doing a 412 food rescue. So if you have transportation and can make it to Lawrenceville, you call our phone number, 412-802-7220. Tell them you want a food pickup on Friday, and then you will get the proper information for that food pickup. We also have a buddy system where if your family, household, neighbor needs support on transportation, like going to get groceries, going to get medicine, need someone to call or check in, you can also sign up for our buddy system. And I'll let the school to career team send that link to everyone. Don't be too proud.
Right.
If you need help, we not judging. You ain't got to live in Lawrenceville. It's no questions asked. You need help, you got help. We here for you. So I know school to career has been holding it down, but there's just like a larger net of support for you. And we want to make you aware of that.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Darrell.
Absolutely. I will post the buddy system on our, remind.com. So it'll go
Wonderful.
out today. Yeah.
Thank you.
Final questions? You all good? Are you all good?
Did everyone do color poll
Oh yeah.
on Instagram?
I'm going to post that again in the chat one more time. If everybody could go to either follow this link or just go to @colorpoll2017 on Instagram and name a color from one of the pictures.
Okay.
Mr. Darrell, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time and all the effort and the passion you bring to this. And it was really wonderful hearing from you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Stay safe and tell Liberty it was great meeting her.
You want to say bye?
She's a sweetheart. She told us hi, so that's enough. Tell your dad I said hi. Thomas and I said hi to him. I was in touch with Deanna, and tell Darnell I have not heard from him in a minute. So tell everybody I said hello.
For sure, for sure. Much respect, much love. Appreciate y'all. If you need anything, supplies, OG, some resources, just it's all good.
Definitely, definitely. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Peace.
Thank you.